Seems to be working. All right. So, what is this class? What are you here for? Yeah, cyber ethics, or some long word about information technology and ethics and etc. So last time we just did kind of a brief overview of why this class exists and what you should expect to talk about. And I hoped to scare a couple of you into, thinking about this stuff a little bit and suggest that that's what we're going to be talking about all semester. Now we are getting into, this is really the first class of the semester. Last class was just mostly business and a little intro. Now it's real teaching, learning, sort of, real semester stuff. So, because of that, we're just going to jump in with, you can walk in front of it. Don't be afraid. No, definitely do. Don't be afraid of it. It doesn't bite. It costs the cheapest one you can get on Amazon. We said, what was cyber ethics? What are these? What is the full overall point of this class? Well, we're talking about cyber and we're talking about ethics. So what did we mean by cyber? Yeah, internet. Computers. Sometimes I get bored of trying to spell and I just scribble. So if you don't know what a word means or it looks like my handwriting's too terrible, just ask. Like that says, so like that, you should be able to follow that. So if you can, marvelous work. But if it doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. All right, so computers, internet, those sorts of things. And then this second part, what did we say ethics was?
Morality.
Yeah, it's tied in with morality. And what did morality talk about, or what is morality concerned with?
Principles.
Yeah, so principles. And principles about what? So it's not like principles like the person who's in charge of an elementary school, but it's also not like the principles that govern your high school chess club. It's something different. What do we mean by principles here? I also don't know if that's how you spell principles. I can't remember which one is AL and which one is LE, and I don't really care. All right, so, well, I'll take your word for it because I will never. All right, so what do we mean by principles here? What are these principles about, or what are they concerned with?
Are rules of conduct?
Yeah, rules of conduct. So it's about how we, and what do we mean by conduct? Well, it's how we act. Conduct. How we act. And what about how we act? Like, there are many things that you do or ways you act that don't have to do with morality. Like, tying your shoe. That is a way you act, but it's not really moral. So what are the moral ones? What are the things that morality is concerned with? What types of actions, or what sorts of things do you think about those actions once you perform them? What separates the moral ones from all the other ones? What sorts of words that you encounter in your everyday lives and you might say to people when they do things that upset you or make you happy?
Behavior.
Yeah, so it's about your behaviors. And not just, again, not just any behaviors, but when you're saying someone's doing something immoral or not moral, what are either some examples of what they might be doing or what your feelings about what they're doing are?
Feelings.
Yeah, so how does it make you, if you see somebody doing something and you're like, that is immoral. I almost just gave away one of them.
Good or bad?
Pardon?
Good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. It's not just like, oh, that person's immoral. It's like, that person is immoral, and I hate them, and I want them out of the White House. So, these are the sorts of things that you might, it gets you emotional and riled up. It's not just like, that person, misspelled something. I'm so angry. No, it's not like that. Or it's not like, oh, you see, when I put my shoes on, I put my left shoe on first, and then my right shoe. And that person puts on their right and then their left. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's a fact, but who cares? With moral things, it's like, no, if you do this thing, if you go around killing people, it's not just like, oh, that's a fact about this person. They like murdering people and wearing their skin for suits. It's like, oh, wow, no, this is a big deal. Let's talk about this and preferably stay away from that person. Or at least get them some really good counseling. So these are the sorts of things. It's tied in, and the big words, the nice thing about morality is the words that it really focuses on are pretty simple. It's just good versus bad, and right versus wrong. And sorry, it's crooked. I'm trying to stay on camera to the best of my ability. I don't know if I am. So, good, bad, right, wrong. So that's what morality is concerned about. And so this class, this is the half of the board we're going to be worried about, just this stuff. Once next week rolls around, we're going to really jump into the two of them together. And the way the rest of the semester goes is we just go through like issue after issue that comes up with cyber technology that has ethical implications. So things like privacy, security, social justice, and how that is affected by the existence of cyber technology. How to behave in a workplace where you, if you so wanted, could probably do a lot of bad things and your customers would never know because they can't even turn on their email necessarily, not understand that you've like put a backdoor into their, the code that's used to run the email. Like these are the sorts of things we're going to be talking about. But for now, let's just first think of it as like building up a toolkit. Before you can put together a piece of furniture, you need to get your hammer and your nails and everything. We're getting the hammer and the nails and everything together today. And that's just going to be talking about like what is ethics, what is morality. We all like to do good things and do the right thing. And now we're going to talk about like what exactly does that mean? Because is everyone on board so far? Again, if at any point you're confused, I'm not making sense, I'm annoying you, just shout, I'll pause and we'll sort it out. All right, everyone on board so far? We good? All right, so I'm going to erase the cyber because that's not important today. Erase the line. So, the way to think about morality is just, it's this set of principles that determine what is a good thing to do or what is the right thing to do. So to be a moral person is pretty simple. All you got to do is do the right thing. Simple enough?
No.
If I want to, I want to know what I should do today, you can't go wrong if you just do the right thing. Where's the obvious issue here? How do you know what the right thing to do is? So morality in some sense is you always do the right thing, but the obvious question is what's the right thing to do and how should you go about finding what the right thing to do is? And sometimes it's going to be pretty obvious what the right thing is, and other times it's going to be a lot more complicated. And figuring out what the right thing to do in every situation, especially situations that are unlike ones you've ever encountered before, and especially ones that are unlike things anyone has ever encountered before, especially earlier generations who are the ones who teach you what's right and wrong, that's where there's going to be problems coming up. So, how did you learn that it's wrong to kill people?
Society.
Society, and who especially in the society? Your parents. And who taught you it was wrong to steal? Your parents or an authority figure. Now, what's the problem that comes up when we're thinking about doing the right thing and as soon as technology gets involved?
They're not.
Who's going to teach you how to behave properly on, I don't know, Snapchat? Or who's going to tell you what sorts of things are acceptable to do when you're surfing the internet? Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is, usually your parents would come along and be like, no, little person, you are a small child, put that candy bar back, you can't steal that. But now, on the internet, you're like, Mom, I really don't know whether I should, pretend to be Johnny's best friend to make him feel better, and I make a fake email account and send him nice things. And your mom's gonna be like, wait, what? What's an email? Or like, Mom, so-and-so sent me this really threatening message on Snapchat. Like, what's Snapchat? Like, this is the fundamental problem of like, how can your parents teach you how to behave if they don't even understand the technology? So the way you can think of it is, while technology is very new, there's still a lot of things that have to do with, the way things were in the past. And there's a lot of tying in, and it's basically how do you take the ways that you decide what's good or bad, right or wrong, in your everyday things that don't involve technology, or that people in the past have dealt with that didn't involve modern cyber technology, and how do you apply those rules to a modern world with this crazy new technology? And that's basically what it's going to be. It's just how can we apply these things, and which things that we've applied in the past very neatly carry over to cyber technology and which don't. So, doing the right thing. How do you go about deciding how to do the right thing? The best way of seeing how you go about it is just to, let's just do an example and see how you go about deciding what to do. So how many of you, just out of curiosity, had a chance to do the reading, just so I know how to, okay, so that's a pretty high percentage. All right, so when I start drawing this, some of you will know what I'm drawing and can tell everyone what I'm drawing. All right, I'm going to erase this so I can be in the middle of the board still, and, all right, so.
Oh.
I'm not good at drawing. Any takers yet on what I'm drawing?
A trolley.
Yeah, it's a trolley. It's a beautiful trolley. Look how nice it is. It's got wheels. And, like, a nose. You know, like, maybe we can draw an eye on it, too. Anyway, so, here's the trolley. Chug it, chug it, chug it, chug it, choo choo. And by trolley, we literally just mean like a train that runs on a street with these little things. I don't know why they started talking about trolleys instead of trains or anything else. I don't know, we can pretend it's Brooklyn in like 1925 before they got rid of all the trolleys. So, here's the case. We've got a trolley going down the tracks, moseying along. Now, do people understand with how trains work? Like the way they're designed is you've got rails that it'll come one way and then they can split. And the way that it works is there's like a bar piece here that will move from one side to the other. And depending which way it's pointed, the train will go one way versus the other. This is how they get the subways to drive too. So if you ever hear like the clank, 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 that's the tracks changing direction. So if it's that way, the train's going to go this way, and then all you got to do is move it, and now the train's going to go that way. And usually it's just like a simple button where you just press it and it goes back and forth. So that button just became a person. So, all right, this is a person standing next to a button. You. That's you. You're happy. Here on the tracks, down a ways, you've got, let me just erase this because it'll be easier. You've got, well, over here down the track, you've got one person. And they are unhappy. And over here you have 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I don't feel like drawing faces. All right, so here's how many people, so those of you who were able to read the reading or know the case, describe what's happening here. So what is the issue? And take tell me the name again.
The train is going on the track and like somebody just, something like it's going really fast and trying to make a decision which way to go.
Yeah, so right now the train's going really fast. And you can imagine that either the driver of the train got drunk and fell asleep, or it's an automatic train that doesn't have like a sensor for people. And this train is just cruising along, and the train is currently set up, so you see where the bar is. If the train just keeps going on its merry way, it's going to turn right and run over 5 people, because there's 5 people there. You are standing here looking, and you're like, oh my God, there's 5 people down there. And you are standing next to the button that controls which direction it goes. And you see there's 5 people over there, but there's only 1 person over there. If you press the button, the train will change directions and go towards this 1 person. So if you do nothing and just stand there, the train's going to run over 5 people. If you stand there and go, you know what, I'm not going to do anything, and you still stand there and don't do anything, it still runs over 5 people. You press the button, it runs over 1 person. This is what we call a, does anyone remember the term from the book?
Dilemma.
Yeah, it's a moral dilemma. Again, don't know how to spell dilemma. Whatever. So, dilemma is something where you have 2 choices. Both of them are in some sense good and in some sense bad. And you have to decide what to do in this case. And now what we're going to do is just look at how do you decide what to do in this case. And the way you decide what to do in this case is just basically what it is to make a moral decision. This is a very morally charged situation. You're trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. What would a good person do in this situation? So, we had a hand. What is your name again?
Oh,
Okay,
Never
hand
mind.
down. All right. So, how many of you press the button? How many of you don't press the button? How many of you are just kind of like, I really don't know what to do and are confused? Okay, you're also in that you didn't press the button because just standing there being confused is not pressing the button. So, you are all in the not press the button camp as well. So, there are different ways to get there, but at the end of the day, 5 people are dying. So, those of you who think you should press the button, why? What is it that leads you to think, I should press this button?
The cost and benefit, like.
Yeah, so part of it is, you just measure the cost and benefit. On the one hand, if you don't press the button, 5 people die. If you press the button, 1 person dies. Let's do some simple math. Which number is greater, 5 or 1?
1.
1?
Someone.
5 is a bigger number.
No, in the case of like which one will be less
Yeah.
impactful.
Yeah. So the idea is you try to minimize the amount of pain that's caused and maximize the amount of benefit. And, each of these people presumably has a family, and if this one person dies, this person will be in pain, and these 5 people, their moms will be sad, and so that's like 5 times as many moms. So, Lisa, you are making a very appropriate face at this point in time. What is that face? I think I know what you're thinking, but I'm not sure, so you're going to have to say it unless you don't want to say it.
But he might have family too. Like, it's just like I understand it's like a grand scale because it's 5 people, but it's just like that's why it's a hard decision because I'm thinking like he has a family too.
Yeah, so this is one of those really crappy situations where there isn't any answer that's going to be great. Like, regardless of what happens, somebody's dying. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. And so the tough thing is, like, in one sense, if you just refuse to do anything, you are kind of like saying, there's not a right answer, I'm choosing to not be a part of the situation. But from another perspective, there's still a sense in which, like, yeah, it's a shitty situation, but you are there next to the button. By choosing to pull yourself out of it, you are still a part of it and letting those people die. So there's this really tough thing. So part of how you go about this is, just erase this. We've got costs and benefits. But another is just like, there's this sense of not wanting to actively hurt people. So there is some sense, though, in which, like, if you were never here, no one would be there to press the button. So there's a sense in which somehow pushing the button to some people feels a lot more like you're actively killing this one person than just not doing anything feels like you're killing these 5 people. And you can really get this sort of feeling of, like, there's just certain things you cannot do, and one of them is do not actively harm people. We can design another version of the case, which makes our judgments about it get pulled even more. So imagine that instead of having a trolley that's along like a branching track, you've just got a single track, and I don't feel like drawing another fancy trolley, so here we go. Just the square. And it's going along, and there's 5 people here on the track. I don't feel like drawing 5 more, so I'm just going to draw 1 plus 4. And then imagine that up here, over top of the track, there's a bridge. And on this bridge is you, and
Oh yeah, this is the other one.
another person. And so imagine in this case that the trolley is, I don't like the original case because I find it kind of offensive the way they write it, so I'm designing another one. Imagine the trolley has automatic brake systems where the moment it hits anything, it stops. But it takes it, 100 yards to stop. So the moment it hits something, it'll start slowing down. And say these 5 people are, 200 yards down the track. So if the train makes contact with something before it gets here, it'll stop before it hits these 5 people. So that's the case, Teresa. You had a hand.
Yeah,
So what is the question in this version of it?
that's like It's insane because now you gotta push somebody.
Yes. The difference is in this case, imagine that you're standing there and you see the train is rumbling by and it's like too far away for you to sacrifice yourself and jump in front of the train and your pockets are empty. So instead you just go, well, I guess I gotta do it, and you just push the person and they go plummeting, the train hits them, the train breaks. So instead of these 5 people getting hit, it's rather this poor person who you just pushed onto the tracks gets hit by the train stops. So, in this case, same math as the other one. First one person, 5 people. This one person, 5 people. But how many of you have a different opinion on this one than you had on the first one? How many of you now think the right thing to do is just to stand there and not do anything? Specifically, how many of you who were like, press the button, are now like, but don't push the person? Yeah. So this is a very common thing, and this is what it usually falls into like a like the numbers are. In the first case, it's usually like 2/3 of people are like press the button, and then in this one, it's at least 2/3 are like but don't push the person, and then there's usually a handful of people who still have the very strong judgment of like no, the math is what matters, save lives, and like you got to do what you got to do. And the interesting thing is that we all have different families and come from different places, but most of us have lived in New York for a while and are engaging in the same sorts of things. You all come to the same school, but we all have very different views on this sort of case. You have some people who it's very much like, don't press the button, don't push anyone, you just extract yourself. Other people are like, I don't care what you have to do. Do you have to stab out their eyes and throw those on the track and then kick their baby in the face? Like, if the numbers are smaller, then that's the right thing to do. And so that's the trolley case. And what the trolley case is designed to show, or how we're using it, is just like, this is what trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. You look at a case that's not easy to decide, and you go, what would I do in that case, and why? And then you kind of think to yourself, what is important here?